Well, welcome to the Treasury Talent Podcast. I'm your host, Simon Lynch. Today I'm joined by Scotty John, who's part of the Treasury Talent team. And I really wanted to get Scotty on the program today so that you could all get a bit of an understanding of Scotty's background, what he's about, and just get to know him as part of the Treasury Talent team. So Scotty, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me, Simon.
I guess I'll start with asking you, what are the main reasons you came on board and joined Treasury Talent?
So it's a great question, especially given the timing as we're recording this. Here in Utah, where I'm based out of, we're still sheltered in place due to COVID-19. And, you and I had talked back when we first met. We were introduced through a mutual acquaintance, obviously. And for me, it was like, I think I was a little bit concerned about just, the next downturn. I felt like we were due. And so to my mind, your answer was hands down the best answer of anybody that I was speaking with at the time with regards to how your company would handle a downturn. And we're seeing it now with all of these crisis specials that you're putting out. This is Treasury's time to shine. So for me, it was really, the business model was amazing. And I feel like just the overall kind of what I anticipated would be the stability of the company in the next downturn, which I thought was inevitable. We're seeing that play out right now. So
I tell you what, you had greater foresight than me, Scotty. I did not see COVID-19 coming or the economic crash that we're in now. When I answered that question and said we'll be good, I was hoping to all manners that it wasn't going to happen.
Well, to be fair, I did not in any way see COVID-19 coming. Just the fact that we may be due for some sort of a downturn. Could not have expected an absolute grinding to a halt of the global economy, though.
I think one of my favourite quotes before this was a CFO doesn't know how much he appreciates Treasury until something blows up. And I've got to say, this is as pretty close to blowing up as I think I've seen in my career.
Indeed.
So just coming back to the Treasury Talent model, what appealed to you about the business model that we've got, and why did that make you want to join?
Yeah, so I think what really appealed to me about it, in essence, is just how niched down it is, right? So to speak. The focus is exclusively on one part of corporate, and not only that, it's a very difficult part to find. So I think to be that specialized and have, at the end of the day, it's an unrealistic goal, but to have the goal being to know kind of everyone in the market, it's unrealistic. But if there's any place where it's attainable, it's in Treasury, right? Corporate Treasury. So I think that was that coupled with the fact that we got along, right? I got along with the other members of the team. And at the end of the day, that's kind of your approach. This is a relationship-based business. So I think those things kind of coupled together are what I like most about the model.
And absolutely. I mean, even though we have a remote, geographically agnostic business, we talk a lot, and we talk to a lot of people. So it's about getting on and having good people in the business. Absolutely. So you've been with us now for about 6 months. Was it what you expected?
Well, again, the caveat being COVID, didn't expect that, but yeah, I think so. I mean, the cool thing about it is we're relatively small, and so we've been able to adapt quickly. There have been some things that maybe I couldn't have seen coming, but at the end of the day, it is what I expected. Again, it's you were prescient with your answer about what would happen in a downturn. So that's not necessarily what any of us expected, but that's proven to be true thus far. And yeah, I mean, in short, yes, it's what I expected, and I'm pleased with it.
So now you've been in the Treasury ecosystem for a bit of time. You've got to know the community, and you're working your way through that. How do you think the model helps clients in terms of finding the people that they're struggling to find?
So I think that the The answer to that question is tremendously. Of course, I'm biased, but at the end of the day, if you don't have somebody out there who is, proactively contacting people who have their heads down and are focused on their work, then there's no way you're going to see, even maybe more than 20% of the market. So I think the fact is we speak with treasury professionals all day, every day, and we can then get passive candidates in front of hiring managers. To me, that's a tremendous value add, and it's the goal of any good recruitment specialist. But again, given our niche, we really can be super effective that way.
Likewise, if we flip it on the other side, what about for candidates out there? How does it help them in terms of their next career step to be in touch with you?
Again, so, first and foremost, let's just take the positions that are posted. There's so many people who are actively focused on their career and the job in front of them that they're not keeping an eye on postings, right? But beyond that, I mean, there's things that we are aware of in the market that far before they're posted, and so we can bring opportunities, interesting, unique, and also tailored opportunities, because we're speaking to candidates proactively. We can bring them opportunities and essentially be their eyes and ears in the marketplace. So I mean, likewise, if you flip it, it's, I think, a tremendous value add to prospective candidates as well.
Now, I know you're an avid podcast listener. It was one of the things I got you to do in terms of training you up and getting your market knowledge improved. For those that are not listening, what are they missing?
I mean, so first and foremost, I'm not a practitioner of treasury. I've learned so much about this space, and some of the most impressive leaders in the industry have come on your podcast. I feel like in 6 months, I'm now able to speak intelligently about the treasury space, and in some cases educate treasury professionals on certain aspects of their space, and that's all based on the podcast. So I think anybody who wants to learn about career development within treasury is missing out by not listening to the podcast.
Now, we produce a lot of content on the back of the podcast. A lot of people ask me, why do you do it? You share too much. Why don't you charge? And why is it all for free? What's your take on the way that we're doing that?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're having these conversations day in, day out. You obviously are the you're the catalyst here. You're the one who started having these conversations. You're going to have them anyway. So, this is just, it's a way to, I think, give back to the community to make it public. It adds a ton. People are interested in the conversations that you'd be having privately. So why not record them and put them out there? That there's, to my mind, it's just trying to give back, I guess, to the community.
So what's your biggest goal in the next 6 months?
That's a great question. I think for me, my focus is on the western half of the United States and trying to wrap my mind around the markets there. So trying to take that, in, I guess, digestible bites, if you will. My focus is to really understand, some of the major markets in the western United States, the San Francisco Bay Area, Los Angeles, many of the markets in Texas, and pretty much any major market you can think of in the West, but especially that West Coast and that Texas market. The goal is to, again, know the market as a whole. So taking that step by step, I think in the next 6 months, it's realistic and reasonable to expect that I would have a pretty good handle on California and Texas as it relates to treasury.
What's been the biggest surprise for you since joining the treasury community?
So for me, I think, having spent time working in a couple of different spaces, from a recruitment standpoint, there's no question that the people we're speaking with are intelligent, right? The treasury professionals, you kind of have to be, But what I didn't necessarily expect was the emotional intelligence quotients that I've found thus far. I mean, the ability for a majority of treasury professionals that I've connected with to build rapport quickly. I mean, at the end of the day, just to say it succinctly, they're great people. And to be fair, I mean, a lot of intelligent people are, but there's a big difference in some cases when you're working with for instance, a software developer or a surgeon in how they communicate. The folks in treasury they seem, generally speaking, very kind, very open to sharing their knowledge, and just downright cool for the most part.
Any words of advice for those in the treasury community around furthering their careers?
I mean, I think, frankly, for me to try to parrot what I've heard on the podcast, it would not do it justice. Listening to those that have been there, it's, I think, for anybody, right? If wherever you want to go in your career, start by looking at the people that are in that space and see if you can learn from them. You've got, plenty of ways to do that. Mentorship is one way. And frankly, I think, again, the podcast is a bit of a cheat. Like, you can listen to a bunch of treasurers and CFOs tell you how they did it. And to my mind, that's a pretty stellar way to do it. At the same time, if you do want to get a mentor, I think speaking to somebody like me is a great way to start, because that can be an intimidating prospect, and I can help.
Fabulous. What about for those who are recruiting into their team, Scotty? What advice have you got for them?
Well, I think it takes a lot of work, right? So you kind of have to roll up your sleeves and get to work. I mean, we talk about it all the time in our business. Pipelining, prospective talent is critical. So you can do that one of two ways. You can put in the work, and you can network, and you can think to the future. Have your mind to the future when you're speaking to anybody else that's in the field, or you can outsource it. There's kind of, those seem to be the two options that I would say. But at the end of the day, there's no shortcuts around it. You just have to put in the work.
And we do it 24/7, so it's pretty easy for us to then tap into that.
Indeed.
Now, over the course of the time you've been in the business, you've taught me a lot about American football and sports. What's my biggest sporting knowledge gap?
Yeah, so I can't take near as much credit as some of the other members of our team in teaching you about football, but it's an easy answer for me as a guy who grew up playing ice hockey. It's ice hockey. That's the next one. We've got to get you out to a hockey game. Again, personal bias, right? But I think until you've been in person to see what that sport's all about, you would never get an appreciation for it. Plus, I wouldn't mind going along.
Awesome, Scotty. Well, I hope the listeners have got a little insight into where you're at the moment, and good to chat.
Likewise. Thanks, Simon.